Are you tired of bulky headlamps that really weigh you down? Then take a look at the Fenix HM50R. This guy is feather light. Welcome back to Shul Lights, guys. Today I have the Fenix HM50R headlamp that was sent to me for review by Fenix, and I'm glad they did because on paper it just looks like a standard headlamp. And when I first started using it, I was like, what's special about this? Well, it turns out that there's nothing so staggeringly special about it, except for it does everything a little nicer than some of my existing headlamps. I'll make that claim throughout the video. You'll see if you believe me. But the first thing I want to point out, and we talked about this in the intro, is that the typical headlamp that I've been using is over 150 grams. This guy doesn't even make 100. This is with the battery installed. It's only 77, 75 grams, something like that. It just feels so comfortable on my head. And the design of it is really great. So let's go ahead and start talking about the design really quickly. First off, this is a really high quality headband. This headband has high-vis orange all around it with retro reflective lettering for biking or running at night. But it's also really well designed in that you can see that there's these little breathable holes, yet on the inside, it's got this extra silicone rubber, I think it's silicone, that's really grippy, so it just doesn't slide down your head. I sometimes, well, at least I used to like the headbands that would go over like this because these guys seem to always kind of slide down. But then, you get that weird kind of like reverse double mohawk with your hair sticking up to both sides. So that isn't great either. So, I mean, for looks, you cannot beat the single strap, and with it being so lightweight, so it's not pulling down on you in the first place. You got these extra grippy little spots and stuff. I mean, this is a great headband. Very elastic, very stretchy. This is high quality. And I bring that up because, this is a good headband as well. And I like that it's stretchy, but notice that it's thick and there's no holes for breathability and there's no extra rubber or silicone on the inside. And it is kind of wide, right? Wide does make it robust, but it also makes it less comfortable to wear. So a headband like this is just top notch. And you're going to notice that this top-notch materials continue throughout the whole process. So while there may be nothing revolutionary about this light, I find that everything it does, I really like. Let's take a look at what comes in the box. All right, here's what comes in the box right there. You've got yourself a manual, you got yourself warranty card, extra O-ring, a USB-A to USB-C because this does have built-in charging. It's got the nice strap that we already talked about, and it's got a right angle light with a clip. And what's really great about this is this clip doubles not only as a pocket clip, but as the attachment for the band. Of course, it comes with an included battery. The battery is a very svelte 16340, little tiny guy here, non-proprietary, so you can get backup batteries if you want. And I believe this thing will also take CR123. I just said that because it just popped in my head. I'm going to have to test it in a later part of this video. I'll stop in a moment and I'll let you know if that's true or not. Let's take a look at the UI. All right, the UI. So there's one button on the side here, and this button is illuminated. So if you tap it once, it's going to light green to say that the battery is at a decent voltage. And also, when you're charging the light, so if you got it plugged in, you're going to have a charging indicator here. It's going to go red and then turn green when it is full. But I want to point out that you operate from this one button, but since this is a dual channel light, meaning that it has the white main emitter and secondary reds, right? So that's one of the kind of nice things about the HM50R, right, is that it has the backup red. One of the things I like about the UI is that you can operate the white modes and the red modes without being mixed in the same cycle or sequence. So what I mean by that is if I want to go to red, I can say click, click, and I go to red. Okay, press long, hold, it goes off. But if I want white, I press and hold, and I get white. Press and hold to turn off. So again, it's one of these things where I can predict whether I'm going to white or red, which is really important if you're an amateur astronomer or an aviator and you don't want to spill the cabin or the campsite with white light. So let's take a look at the white light modes for a second. There are 4. So you press and hold, and it does have mode memory, and I'm not sure which mode I'm on right now, but let me click through this, okay, and just single clicks. There's low, medium low, high, and then the highest, right? So that would be 4 modes. Low, medium, high, I should say, and high. And it just keeps clicking through. And so if I go to low, and then I press and hold to turn off, and then I want to go to red, instead of pressing and holding, I double click. Double click goes to red. There's only one red level, and it's 5 lumens. And if you click once, you can get a flashing, which would be useful for running at night and visibility, right? So then press and hold turns it off. Now, what I love, though, is if I double click and go into red, it's always a solid red first, which makes sense because that's the mode you most likely would want if you were in a situation where you were doing amateur astronomy or aviation. But if I press and hold and turn off, and then I do the long hold to go to white, notice I'm going to come back to low. So this mode is memorized. Let me go to medium high now. You'll notice that this mode is memorized. Even if I go to red, if I come back to the white, I'm back on that medium high. Okay, so I like that that mode is memorized even if I go to the other channel. So I find this UI unconfusing, predictable, and I definitely like how the reds are not mixed in with the whites. Last thing I'll point out is there is a electronic lockout, and this is one of those little features that I love about this light, okay? This is why I think this light is just a kind of a cut above the normal fare, because they embossed it right here. Says press 3 seconds. So if you press and hold for 3 seconds, it will confirm flash 3 times red, and now it is locked out. And notice it's not just locked out like I'm hitting it and nothing's happening. I'm hitting it and it's flashing 3 times to let me know it's in lockout mode. Press and hold for 3 seconds again. It's going to confirm that it's unlocking, and now I am back to normal use, right? So let's go ahead and click, and then there we go. I really like the little touch that it's on here because I have so many lights, and sometimes after not using one for a while, if it's on lockout, I'll actually play the can I remember the unlockout button game. It's like, how do I get this light to turn on again? I actually just had a light today where I couldn't remember if it was locked out or not. It didn't seem like it was coming on because there's no confirmation, so I'm pushing the buttons. I go, gosh, I must have locked this out. I undo the tail cap. It was actually a Manker M613. I undo the tail cap, I turn it back on, still nothing. I'm like, oh my God, the lockout is memorized, even though he disconnected power. It was very annoying. I finally figured out it was 4 clicks. But it was just one of those things where I wasn't getting any confirmations. And so that's why this is like such a good thing that, you know, when you lock it out, you get these confirmations. So if I set this aside for a month or so and then click on it, I'll go, oh yeah, it's locked out. All right. Okay, charging this light. First off, I want to point out that you can just unscrew it, take the battery out, and just stick it in your dedicated charger. That's what I like to do. But if you want to charge in the light itself, which is convenient if you're on like a camping trip or something like that, there's a little flap here on the side, and there's a little kind of, you know, little flappy doodle here to get it started, right? And then you peel it up. And obviously this flappy doodle is to make sure that the light is dust and water rated properly. But let me tell you some things that would have made me upset if they had done this. One, if I peeled this back and saw micro USB or mini USB, but it's not, it's USB-C, so that makes me happy. And also notice that I just did that, right? I just rotated the little flap out of the way. That's because it's on a post, it's rotatable. I really loathe when these little flaps have the 2 prongs or insert, and then when you go to flip it out of the way, it just keeps flapping over and you can't get your cord in right. So that's always annoying. So I just want to say that I think that this charging is done well. I don't mind it. Since I'm just such a nerd and I'm always using my dedicated charger, I don't really charge this way, but it's a great option to have if you are on a trip or a vacation and you don't want to bring a charger. Getting back to the headband for a second, since this can be a right angle light or a headband, one of the kind of coolest things about this is that the clip allows us to be easily mounted like this in a moment's notice. So now it's a headlamp and you can just rotate it on the clip itself or just pull it out like this. You just kind of, and now it's instantly a riding light again. So it's not one of these things where it can just be converted. It's converted just as simply as sliding in or pulling it out. This is a really ingenious band here. And I also want to point out that this has a really high grade plastic, which I actually like, because some of the headbands I have, I got a durable headband here, which is made out of metal. And while I like the durability of it, it definitely adds weight. And the lack of give, the fact that it's really hard, sometimes I feel like it's just putting a lot of pressure on my forehead. This is more forgiving, it's lighter weight, definitely durable enough. All right, let's do lumen ratings and tint ratings. I'm going to point out that on the box here, oh, and by the way, in the manual, they have a runtime graph, which is nice. So if you want to know more about the runtime graph, it's actually graphed out. But on the back of the box, they point out that turbo is 1 hour with an asterisk because it actually steps down. But then even high is supposed to last 3 hours. I was curious to know that because of the fact that the battery is so small. You know, it's a 16340. It's only 700 milliamp hour. I was wondering how efficient is this thing. Apparently the driver is pretty efficient because at 400 lumens, you're going to get about 3 hours. And then on medium and low, you can get some really long run times, you know, all night long, 8 hours, or multiple days at 42 hours for 30 lumens of low. And by the way, 30 lumens is nothing to shake a stick at. If you're a dark forest, that's plenty to see by. The red light, notice that you can get almost double that, and it's about 5 lumens. Okay, let's take a look and see how close these lumen ratings are. So I'm going to start with the red, double tap. Okay, stick it in there, and there we go. So I'm reading a little over 5 lumens, like 5.8, so almost 6 lumens, but that's pretty close to what they said. Okay, go ahead and turn that off. And let's get this on the low. So low white, and I'm reading about 30 lumens, and the box claims 30. So there you go. Let's go up a level, and here's the medium low. They say 130 lumens. Look at that. I got 131. Let's go up another level. Let me go out of range here. There we go. Go up another level. They say 400 lumens. I'm getting 392. I mean, this sounds really accurate. And then lastly, their turbo. They say it is 700 lumens, and I'm getting over that. I'm getting 743 lumens. And even with this little tiny 16340, which, by the way, the 16340 is known to have a huge amount of sag. All right. And that's one of the reasons a lot of lights went to 18350s. And notice that this thing is still sustaining really well. Tells me that the driver is efficient. Let's go ahead and take a look at this tint. I'm going to start out on a medium here. And you'll see that we're getting about 5,500 K correlated temperature, and it's well above BVL. And you can see that it's about 70 CRI with an R9 that's not great. And then if I go to high, it's about the same, actually. It doesn't change a whole lot. Oh, that was high, and then here's turbo. Okay, turbo whitens up a little bit. You can see that it's dropped closer to BVL. The lowest mode is quite above BVL. You can see it's about 200 points above. So again, this light is all about efficiency, not necessarily about color rendition. Earlier in the video, my brain just told me, hey, a CR123 obviously must fit in here and work. And let's just verify that. So I've taken the included lithium-ion rechargeable out. I've put in a CR123. And let's verify that it turns on. And there you go. So no problem. That made sense to me because there is probably, I don't know for sure, but probably some sort of boost driver in here, I'm assuming, by how well the light maintains its lumens. But why would you want to use a CR123 when you could use the included rechargeable? And the answer is runtime if you're out in the wilderness. The rechargeable is 700 and the CR123 is 1500, so it's double the runtime. Okay guys, we're out in the backyard here doing beam shots with this thing. You're looking at my pocket EDC right now. Here, let me go ahead and turn this on. This is a Synergy 2, but I'm just trying to get you kind of calibrated to what a single emitter EDC looks like, okay? Now, let's take a look at the Here we go. This is the Fenix itself. And you can see it's got kind of a hot spot here that's kind of narrow. I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean it in a good way. I mean that it's putting its light concentrated in a spot for working, but you obviously have a spill. You can see the shadow from my hand from the spill, and then there you can see in the hot spot. Now, what I want to point out though is I got a couple other headlamps here. This headlamp I got it on low here. Let's see if I turn it up a little bit. There we go. So this is a competitor's headlamp, and you can see that this headlamp has a very similar beam to it. Let me turn it off. Okay, that's up. And let me turn on. There's the Fenix. I got it a little high. There we go. There's the Fenix. So now this is on low. And you can see that the beam is very similar. So Fenix and these other companies have kind of figured out what works well for a headlamp, right? You only got so many lumens. Where are you going to put them? If you throw them all over the place, of course, it dilutes the lumens and it's not as bright. You don't get that throw, that candela you need. All right, I got my exposure and my color locked. Let's go through the low modes. Medium low, medium high, and then high. And that wall is 10 meters away from me right now. All right, let's take a look at something in my hands. This is the headlamp on low, and you can see how much ample light it is even on low when you're working at something really close up, right? And let's go ahead to medium low, and you can see it's already just blasting. And then that would be medium high, and then finally turbo, and it's just too much. It's way too much. So again, I think it's very well optimized for close-up work while giving you the candela you need to see something down the trail. This Fenix HM50R headlamp is just a delight to use. Super lightweight, easy UI, good looks. Actually, I actually like it. I like the accents here. There's little copper accents. I think it looks nice. It looks nice on me. I look less of a dork than with some of my headlamps. It's a nice one. And when I first unboxed it, I was trying to figure out if this was worth the price tag, because it's a little more expensive than some of these Sulfurin options on the market. And I've used a Sulfurin SP40 for many years. But here's the thing. It kind of does everything a little bit nicer. And if you've seen my other videos, you guys know that I'm accustomed to paying more for lights that I like. I have no problem buying US made when it's nice. And so the fact that, and I'm not implying this is US made, that's not my point. I'm just saying that if something's a little bit nicer, I tend to gravitate towards it. I don't mind splurging a little bit if I can see the quality difference. And this just feels well made, and it feels well thought out. So if you want a headlamp that you're going to forget that you're wearing, that has great efficient run times, and just kind of does what it really needs to do, I could heartily recommend this Fenix HM50R.